Hi guys, welcome back to part 2 of the VOR Approach tutorial in the TBM 930 on the G3000. Okay, first before you move or watch any further, make sure you check out part 1 where I'll teach you how to set up or dial up the frequency for the VOR, how to read the CDI and all that good stuff. You need to know all those before you watch this video. So if you haven't already, click the card above or in the description below. Right, now to the approach plate. Okay, we're going to be doing the category B VOR Yankee runway 10 approach into Saint Martin. We've already dialed up the frequency. Now what we need to do now, assuming you've already established the holding pattern as in part 1, what we're going to do is we're going to fly outbound, and then at some point we're going to turn inbound. Okay, so let's read through this and see what we need. So we have 113 established already. Final approach course is 096, which is here. We need to know the MDA, or the minimum decision altitude or height. We're going to use the decision altitude because we have our QNH set in our altimeter. So that's 990 feet here. Okay. Airport elevation is 14 feet, so it's almost sea level. The minimum sector altitude for 25 nautical miles from the VOR is like so. So if you're northeast of the field, if you're in this quadrant, you are safe above 2600 feet, and if you're in this quadrant, you need to be above 4100 feet to be safe. Okay. Now, in case of a misapproach, we need to track 108, climbing 4,000 feet, and then passing 2,600 feet, turn left and direct PG, VOR, and hold. Alright, now what does all that mean? So what it simply means is that once we leave the holding pattern and start our outbound, and at some time we'll turn inbound, and then if we don't see the runway, once we establish and we are at a reasonable distance, we still do not see the runway, we need to go around. So how we do that is we just track 108 outbound, we'll establish a climbing turn, and then once we pass 2600 we'll rejoin the holding pattern as per part 1. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We are going to leave the holding pattern tracking 288 radial from the VOR. Okay, outbound, and at the same time what we're going to do is we're going to descend. Now you're allowed to descend outbound anywhere, okay, as long as you're on the heading to intercept the outbound course. Doesn't matter if you're here, as long as you're in a reasonable space, you're allowed to descend. So we're going to descend 288 outbound, and it says here start turn at 3 minutes. Okay, so we're going to descend all outbound until we get to 1600 feet, and we'll see whichever comes first, if it's 1600 feet first or 3 minutes, whichever is first, and then we'll intercept the inbound course. Now the inbound course is very important. We need to be at least half scale deflection of 0.96 before we can leave 1600 feet safely. Okay, if we don't intercept 0.96 inbound, we are not allowed to descend below 1600 feet. So once we do that, everything's all good. We have half scale deflection, then we can descend to 990, and we need to remain above that until we see any of the airport environment, runway lights. As long as we see those, then we can continue the approach. If not, once we get to our misapproach point, which is the overhead of VOR, so once we are above the VOR, it will go from a to a from. If we don't see anything, we will need to abort and go around. So we'll perform the misapproach procedure. Okay, now with that said, let's go back to the cockpit. Alright, so here we are about to just we're just about to fly over the VOR. So on heading mode now, what we can do is we come over here and we'll turn the CDI to 288. Okay, so once it goes to a to a from, all we need to do is just hit the nav button. Okay, and at the same time we'll get our timer ready. So it should go from a to a from really soon. Okay, we're just about above the VOR. 0.8 of a mile, 0.7 of a mile. Okay, that's the station. So we're going to go over it. It's going to go from a to a from. Okay, we're going to start the timer, and then we'll turn and intercept 288 outbound. Okay, we're not going to use the nav mode for this because it's a bit too slow. We're going to establish a heading, and then what we'll do is we'll descend to 1600 feet. So we'll come over here. So the altitude selector, we'll dial in 1600 feet, we can go to VS, and we'll descend about 1500 feet per minute. Okay, at the same time we'll adjust the throttles accordingly. Okay, select that. Let's try hitting nav mode. Okay, yep, it's tracking. Okay, so what we want to do is just align the heading bar just to help it just a tad bit, because it's not always the most accurate. Okay, now at the same time what we can do is we come over here and we'll dial in the MDA. Okay, so click on PFD, click on minimums, dial 990, go to minimums, click on that, click on barrel, and enter, and it should appear here. So this will give us a reminder if we get to 990 and once we get to the missed approach point, we don't see any sort of runway environment, we need to abort. Okay, cool, that's all set. Now what we're doing is we're just waiting for the time to be up. Okay, now at the same time what we'd like to do is I like to bring the gear down to reduce the workload. Actually, you know what, we'll raise the landing gear, that's actually my bad. We need to be below 178 knots. Okay, so reduce the throttle. So you can see that things are happening quite quickly. Okay, we don't need to rush here. Okay, what we'll do is it's all captured, so it's captured at 1600 feet. The aircraft is starting to level off. We are on track to 88. Okay, now the easiest way to slow down is in straight and level, so we'll bring the throttles back slightly. Once it gets to 178 knots, we'll extend the landing gear. So that's 178 knots. We'll extend the landing gear. Okay, now all we're doing is just waiting for 3 minutes. Okay, at the same time I like to bring the first stage of flaps, so that will give us better forward visibility as it lowers the nose. It lowers the nose slightly. Okay. Alright, so just about 10 seconds to go. What we'll do is we'll maintain about 140 knots, maybe 130 knots. And once we establish inbound, we can drop the flaps. Okay, that's 3 minutes, so we'll turn. Heading mode. Okay, we just put the heading bar onto the left side, and then we can come over here and spin the CDI to 096. Okay, so we'll just help the aircraft a little bit. Okay, so once it's spinning, just let it get to there. We'll hit the nav mode, and it should track inbound for us. Now we just need to monitor this. Okay, so as long as this aligns, we can leave 1600 feet. Okay, so that's half scale. Okay, we can now descend to 1000 feet. So VS that 500 feet per minute should suffice. Okay, so we'll slow down. Okay, so that's the CDI coming in, and it should turn us. There we go. Alright, so it's always a good idea to fly slow. There's no need to rush. Okay, we'll get to within the white arc, and then we'll have a look. Now the approach speed for the TBM, I believe, is 85 knots, so we can slow it right down. Okay, that's the white arc, full flaps. Now we need to just maintain above 85 knots. Okay, I like to add 5 knots to the VREF. I think the aircraft flies a little bit better, and also it gives some allowance for wind. Okay, you can see a little bit of the water, so we're more or less visual now. We're just waiting for the misapproach point, which is the VOR itself. Okay, so we're maintaining above lower safe, so that's good. Alright, now in the meantime we can just plan for the approach. So landing lights on, gear down, 3 green, flaps full. Okay. Now in case of a misapproach, what we need to do is turn right to 180, track outbound. We'll climb up to 4,000 feet, passing 2600. We'll make a left turn, and then we'll re-intercept the holding pattern. Okay, so let's see if we can see the environment. We're about 7 miles to go. Okay, so it's a good idea to put your heading bar to 180, so in case for the go around, all you need to do is just VS that, and then it will take you to, not VS that, hit on the heading mode, and then the aircraft will turn. Okay, so always a good idea to be ahead of the aircraft. So another 6 miles to go. Hopefully you will be visual by then. A bit of stuttering as the scenery is loading in. Okay, 5 miles to go. Just about 4.5 miles. Alright, so we have synthetic vision, so we sort of have better situational awareness, but do not rely on it. Okay, we'll still need to use the VOR. Let's have a look outside. Yeah, so there are patches of low cloud in front of us. Alright, hopefully we will get to see the runway. Okay, so we're about 2 miles from the runway, with still no lights, nothing. So we need to be prepared to go around. Okay, you want to see lights, autopilot off. Okay, low side of the runway. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. Right, so we'll just track towards the runway. Right, so we saw the airport there at the very last minute. Okay, so straight and level. Alright, we're done. Alright, so there you have it. There was a VOR approach, so I hope you found that useful. Thank you, and I'll see you guys later.